You are listening to the Game Like Training Radio, or you're watching it, where we talk about golf practice, golf learning, golf psychology, the PGA Tour, college golf, and today the Ryder Cup. But amongst all things, we talk golf. On this show, we try to bring on world-renowned academics, pioneering professors, experts in the industry, whether it's to do with golf coaching, golf equipment, golf practice, anybody that is on an extremely high level of intelligence that can help us, help you golf coaches, all golfers, play better golf, or teach better golf. That was pretty good, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was nice.
I nailed that one.
Well done. You're getting good at these.
I'm your host, Matthew Cooke.
I'm your co-host, Arick Zeigel. Like Matthew said, we have everything Ryder Cup going on today. This is a exciting time of year.
Yeah, because we're kicking your ass right now. That's why.
USA, I tried to do my best to wear my USA colors. This is the closest color shirt I have to red. But exciting morning. Nice to get things kind of kicked off. USA obviously started with a little lead. I think they were up 3-1 at the end of the first matches, and then some questionable pairings, in my opinion, going into the afternoon round.
I know there's one pairing there that you're stumped about.
Nicholson DeChambeau pairing for alternate shot. To me, that I don't understand why they went down that road. But we pulled together a few stats, kind of looking at some things in the Ryder Cup that I found were interesting, and then spin on it as well.
I think we have something that not many people are going to look at. I think our perspective after the stats, I mean, there's probably some stats that people don't know about, but then we looked at what is called the home team advantage. But we'll save that to the end because that's quite interesting. But Eric, lay some stats down on us. The only thing I know, the one thing that I think is pretty important that I just want to tell you, really, and all of the Americans that I know, the last time that you won on European soil was back in 1993.
Yeah, so it's been a while. So we haven't had much success overseas. I think if we're going to have a year, this is going to be it.
Come on, you're getting hammered?
When you look at through the 2018 season, so scoring average for 2018 season, 9 of 12 players on Team USA are inside the top 15 in scoring average. 7 of those 12 are inside the top 10. Team Europe, they only have 5 of their 12 inside the top 15, and 3 of those 12 are in the top 10. So USA clearly has had a pretty consistent team throughout the year when it comes to scoring abilities. So that was one thing I found. The other thing, strokes gained total. You know how much I love strokes gained, so I spent some time last night pulling that together as well. So strokes gained total on the season. Let's see, 7 of the 12 players on the team are in the top 15 strokes gained total. 6 of those 12 are in the top 10, and then 4 of the top 5 are all on Team USA. Dustin, Justin, Tiger, and Bryson.
Wow. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the lineup and the players and the teams, I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
We could get annihilated just because of the sheer quality of golf that we've seen from the not that we haven't seen it from the European guys, but more so we've seen better play this year from the Americans and more individuals on the American team.
And I think when you look at the past 2 Ryder Cups that were on European soil, so 2010, 2014, some familiar names that are on the squad this year. And most of them were actually rookies going back to 2010. So Ricky Fowler, Dustin Johnson, Bubba Watson, that was their first Ryder Cup appearance. And then 2014, Patrick Reed, Jordan Spieth, both rookies. Ricky was on that team as well, same with Webb Simpson and Bubba. Phil obviously has been on quite a few Ryder Cups now. So I think a lot of it too, one of the reasons, in my opinion, that they haven't won some of the European soil events is they were rookies, not really knowing what to expect playing on foreign soil. And
that's
going to lead into kind of the next discussion, and I think an overlooked area when it comes to golf performance are kind of these outside factors that can impact a player's ability to perform.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just get straight into that one now then. The home, it's called, made some notes, it's called the home field advantage. And a lot of the research has been done in baseball, soccer, football, rugby. So a lot of this research is around an environment or a sports environment that is as close as you're going to get to controlled, in the sense of the pitch in soccer, football, tennis is like it's the same every time for the most part. So the parameters of the environment are similar every time.
Yeah, it's the same width, same length, goals are the same size.
Yeah, and the fact that it's multiple, except for tennis really, it's multiple people on a team against another team, which allows us to relate this to the golf in this for the Ryder Cup, for instance. So there's not been much of the research specifically for golf, but like everything, we can learn to we can take some of this research and we can try to understand it so we can see what might relate to us in the golfing world, because ultimately all of them sports, again, I'm the motor learning guy, so I'm going to go back to its movement. I'm always going to go back to that. So the one thing they all have in common is an athlete has to move, and the movement has to be highly specific and precise. So there are, believe it or not, the factors of the home field advantage. First, let me explain what it is. Basically, a team playing at their home field, whether it's a soccer match where Manchester United are playing another team, but it's at Manchester United's home ground. It's where they play all the time. It's where they do some training. It's something that they're familiar with, something that they are used to. Or whether it's football in America, Florida State playing at another team at Florida State. The home field advantage means that the team that usually more often over 50% of the time wins, it's because they're at their home field. So in golf, for the Ryder Cup, for example, we need to factor in that all of our players are used to playing in conditions very similar to what they're playing in right now. They're used to playing the golf course with these narrow fairways, with the type of grass that they're playing, with the environmental conditions around, the air, the wind, the rain, the temperature, the terrains, everything like that is context around a player's performance, and the European team are very used to that. And we can go into some of our players have played at this have played at this golf club and won at the highest level on the European tour, like recently as well. Well, relatively recently.
Two of the rookies on the European team have won the French Open
Mm-hmm.
at the same course that they're playing the Ryder Cup at.
So they are very familiar with this setup. And, there are some other things, not only being familiar with the environment and the golf course, but some of these players, they might get to, I don't know where they live or whether they've got houses around this golf club, but so this one I might be way off the mark, but factors like a player being able to sleep in their own bed. I'm going to tell you the three biggest things that account to the home field advantage outside of the familiar with the environment. Sleeping in your own bed, eating home food, home cooked food,
things you're
like,
comfortable
right?
to, yeah.
Like if I'm over in England, I think I'd play better golf just because I can have a Sunday roast. I know that I'm going to have Yorkshire puddings and gravy Sunday.
Down a plate of escargot.
Right. So like eating home cooked food, and then the third one is familiarity with the home field course. Yeah,
and
but
that goes way back too. When you look at obviously where all these players grew up, they developed this familiarity with the conditions through just as juniors. playing on those courses. When you look at a lot of players and the skills that they develop, and you see it in their professional careers, a lot of it can kind of be credited back to the environments they were exposed to as kids. So the home field advantage isn't just something where, some of these guys play on the European tour, they're used to playing in Europe. Like, this goes back to even...
way back, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not that, one of the things, there's 2 studies that I'll share with everybody. It'll be in the description. We'll put the title of it up here and all sorts. There's 2 studies that I'm going to share with everybody. And both of them conclude that it's not necessarily that the skills of the player, so the technique of the player is enhanced. That's not it. The conclusion is that it's not that the technique hasn't got better. It's that the players that perform on the home soil, they have less interference, so they are able to reach their potential. That's it. And the players that obviously don't have the home field advantage, it's that there's more interference from them, so they can't reach their full potential. It's not that DJ's left wrist is a little more whatever in the backswing. It's not that that DeChambeau gets a little off playing or things like that. Like, the skill is almost the technique, the mechanical aspects of the golfer's performance isn't such a big deal. It's just that the home field advantage allows those. With all of those three specific things, allows them to perform to their potential.
Yeah, and I think to support that argument or that case, is of the 41 Ryder Cups, USA is 126, and it's not that the majority of the Ryder Cups have been in the USA.
I was waiting for you to throw that stat out. That's like an underlying little dig there, isn't it?
Kind of jabbing inside there, but so it's not the more Ryder Cups have been played in the USA necessarily, and that's why the USA has this lead. But there is a reason why, they haven't won going all the way back to 1993 on European soil. So I think that home field advantage, so to speak, is obviously a big factor and something that people need to consider. And talking with college players too, the travel aspect of tournaments and that sort of thing plays a big role in performance and possible impacts on performance. If you don't know or have kind of this record of the things that you think you need to do after a 10-hour plane ride, obviously it's going to be longer than that. I don't know what it is to Paris, but I would imagine it's probably longer than that.
Oh, actually, no, you might be right on that. It's like 9 hours, 9, 10, maybe 11 hours. Yeah, it's 9 to get from Atlanta to Leeds or London.
Okay, so it's probably about the same then. So 10 hours on a plane, and a lot of these guys too were playing obviously in the Tour Championship last week. Tiger. Pretty quick turnaround for a lot of these guys. So they get there a couple days. They have to get acclimated to. Obviously, the weather, it's a lot colder there right now than it was here in Atlanta the other weekend. And then they also have to, jet lags can kick in. 10 hours on a plane isn't going to be the most comfortable thing in the world. So, they might be a little more sore and all that. And there were rumors about Tiger being a little stiff and all this. And I know Jim Furyk stepped up and said, kind of put the kibosh on that. And this is that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
Goodness, I was a little concerned. But there are these things that kind of go on in, just leading up to an event, even prior to teeing off that can play a role in performance. And I think that's kind of something that's overlooked a lot of times. For sure.
I mean, the 2 players, I just want to bring these 2 guys up. Alex Noren and Tommy Fleetwood. Alex won the French Open this year. Tommy Fleetwood won in 2017. So I really think that these 2 guys, even though, are they rookies? They're both rookies, right? So rookies on the team, but they've played competed at the highest level, and regardless of the traveling around and all the things you just mentioned, these 2 guys especially and our team have the upper hand, even factoring in all of the things you just mentioned, which, I mean, they're hugely important to the extent that most people don't even believe. Like, and even you mentioned junior golf and college golfers. College golfers, yeah, they travel all over the States. But even like junior golfers, just traveling down the road to a different golf club is enough difference, enough change in the environment and the conditions.
Or staying in a hotel.
It's staying. Like, I mean, there's some people that play a few tournaments in their home golf club in North Georgia and then go to a club closer to Atlanta and stay in a hotel.
Yep.
Like, they might be juniors, and you might think that it's not too big of a difference, but it really is. Travel, hotel, different place, different bed, maybe eating out that night somewhere different. All of them things will factor into ultimately the performance. Not necessarily that they, their lateral slide's a little different or anything like that.
I think last point here. There's something about the Ryder Cup, and you speak on it a little bit. There's something about the Ryder Cup that tends to bring the best out of these guys. Ian Poulter, obviously, an obvious example. What do you think it is that, or why do you think that is, that a guy like him, who basically was on the verge of losing his tour card this season, wins an event, I believe it was in Houston, wins an event, maintains his card, gets captain's pick onto the Ryder Cup. He's basically captain's pick every year, and it's an obvious reason why. But what is it about the Ryder Cup that brings out the best performance in him? And then, who else do you think on either European side or the American side, whether they're a rookie or not, might have a shining performance this week?
Well, for your first question, I think the best person to answer that or to give some good feedback would be Iain, because I'm gonna give an answer that is more related to his field. I think that the Ryder Cup, the fact that you're in a team, and the fact that you're not playing for your card, you're not playing for 10 million or for the FedEx, you're not playing for just you, or you're not playing for you to provide for your family, which is a huge catalyst to try and dig deep, and huge motivation there to act on something, which is whether it's to go and practice, to work out, whatever it is. Now you're playing for a team, you're playing for Europe, you're playing for something bigger. So I think it's psychologically in some way that the motivation changes, and it just forces and pushes these players to regardless of what situation they're in, to dig deep and try to find a way. I think, if you're coming down the stretch as a junior golfer or a college golfer or even a tour player, you're coming down the stretch and you're not going to win, your thought process might be a little different, like, I don't care now. I'm going to finish top 10 or top 20, top 30. I ain't got a chance of winning. I'll stick to my process, but I know what I'm kind of doing. Whereas if you've got 2 holes left to play and you're in the Ryder Cup, if you've got 2 holes left to play, that means you still have a chance of either tying, getting half a point, or getting a point. So I think regardless of how you're hitting it, you just try to get it done, because you look down the right and you look down the left. It's not just the fans anymore; it's your teammates that need you to come through. So I think it's a motivation thing that changes. And player-wise, I think I like how Rory's body language, behaviour changes when he's around all the European guys. I think based off of some of the interviews I've seen of him in America, he seems to have a bit of an attitude after events, or after a day of playing in interviews on the PGA Tour, in the events, especially in the US. He seems to have a bit of an attitude, in my opinion. But when you see him in Europe with all the European guys, the guys that he's looked up to for a long time and maybe played.
Look up to him. I mean, he's not a rookie. He's one
not anymore, right?
He's been on the team for a while now.
I think he just displays a different person and a different player. I think we'll see some good stuff from him this week. Yeah.
For me, there's something about Brooks Koepka. We've obviously seen what he can do in majors. His ability to kind of turn his game on, and that I think there's something to, like you said, the motivation piece for him when he plays in majors. I'll be curious to see if he brings that into this format. And then for the European side, John Rahm, I think he's going to feed off of this crowd. And watching him this morning tee off, I mean, he was loving it. He was getting the crowd cheering and roaring while he was getting ready to hit, while Justin Rose, who he was playing with, was trying to get everybody to be quiet. So two totally different people playing together, and I think he's going to be a fun one to watch.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. I hope that we've given you some insight to our perspective. This is good. This is cool. I enjoyed this one. Yeah. All right. You can keep up to date with us by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our mailing list on YouTube, on the website, and you can subscribe on YouTube as well. Actually, we have a face for the radio, so this is being recorded. You might want to watch it, you might not. The choice is yours. You can get this on SoundCloud. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.